Crypto and guns. What do they have in common? Well, if you leave it up to the regulators of the United States of America and some other countries, one is pretty much deemed a criminal if you hold both, or will be deemed a criminal if you hold both. Today I want to talk a little bit about free market and some victories that recently have been achieved in the defending the free market and the rights of the American people. So our spin is a little bit different since we've started again this year with these videos. Instead of trying to actually promote different crypto projects you can invest in, which we will do, we'll have less of them though, because of the fact that we want to see trial and error before we'll recommend them to you. And there's a couple projects coming up that I'm going to recommend to you. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, please. Help us get things out in the algorithm. But also what we want to do is the whole idea that we are in crypto, in decentralized crypto to be more specific, is to defend the free market economy. We believe that freedom of choice and free market economies. Basically that we have the right to go out and create our own wealth and build up ourselves and not have somebody else do it for us or keep us inside of a box like I witnessed when I visited various socialist and communist countries, including Cuba and China and other countries. Today, what I want to talk briefly about is a victory that just came out of West Virginia, legislation that was passed. Now, what you can say, what's this have to do with crypto? Well, the whole idea of crypto, of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is very different than what you're seeing today in these blockchains. Remember, Governor Gavin Newsom is pro-blockchain, but he's anti-crypto mining. He doesn't want to give any permits or legalize, pass any laws that will legalize crypto mining in the state of California. In fact, the government of California currently is more negative on that for the use of energy on a very weak grid that exists already in California. Anyway, the blockchain that they want to promote, like with DMV and so forth, is a blockchain that's centralized. It's not decentralized blockchain. And that's something we have to completely understand. And we've done a video on that in the past, and I'd like to get into basically, I think maybe do another video and talk about the difference between centralized and decentralized. I've talked to people and they just really don't seem to understand or comprehend the difference. They really don't even know what blockchain is. So when we talk about defending free markets and freedom, you know, we talk about love, and a lot of churches and so forth preach love. And this is good. This is really good. Nothing wrong with love at all. But true love, if you're a Christian, for example, or want to take Judeo-Christian understanding of true love, represented Jesus Christ and what he did, how he acted according to biblical verses and explanations. But Christ never held back from telling people what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear. And I want to do a couple videos this morning on that aspect. And what I'm going to say today is what we need to hear. Love, really, and I should do a t-shirt with this, but love should have love in one hand and a gun in another hand. And I say a gun, a weapon, something that you can defend yourself with. Now, I'm going to say this now. Don't just click us off right now. Just hear me out, please, in this. Because when it's not, when those you love don't reciprocate and they want to take that from you or use that love as an advantage from you, you got to be able to say, we'll go this far. And we can't bend anymore. A tree gives with the wind, but a real strong wind will push it over, deroot it, as we're seeing lately in these storms. We can't be that tree that gets derooted. Once we do that, we lose our freedoms. I've lived in these countries for over 20 years of my life. I know what it's like to lose freedoms. I know what it's like to turn over weapons. I've seen country turn over weapons, and just 12 years later to have not even be able to defend yourself if somebody attacks you. Like I said, I woke up in the morning and had somebody in my daughter's room, my 6-year-old daughter's room. It looked like a parent kidnap. It just so happened to be the circumstances they weren't able to pull it off, and I woke up and they fled and took off out the top of the balcony and went over rooftops and got away. We could see the lights on the camera, but we never found them. But see, I couldn't even defend it myself. And that's when I made the point that I'm not living down here anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm going back to a country where freedom still, the ability to defend ourselves still exists. And if we take those guns away, right, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you take those weapons away, the criminals are always going to have them. The criminals down there have weapons, but the populace is disarmed, and it did not solve the crime problem. If you look at Great Britain, for example, a couple of years ago, I was reading Great Britain, or England, has a higher homicide rate than New York City has. And not even the police in many areas there can carry weapons. So my point being this. When we're talking about love, you have the weapon, or a gun in this case, in your other hand. That's why the Second Amendment existed. That's why our founding fathers did see this. People can say, well, they didn't see that. They did see this. They're very studious. They thought these things out. They went back and forth in dialogue. They looked at what human nature could do, and they doubted that they could actually be successful. But there was hope that if we had certain principles that stayed in society, in morals, if you will, then the U.S. Constitution would function and go forward. It's not from an old age. What's the whole adage? The horse and buggy, as a previous president liked to refer to. It's not that. In fact, it's principle based and goes forward. So what I want to get back to, that's what Bitcoin was created to do, was to avoid any type of overreaching of the government or government arms or semi-governed entities. And the SEC, for example, is a government entity. It's a quasi-government entity. It's just, it's controlled by the government. The people are placed there by the government, the local power, the people in power. And so they clash, but it's still is controlled by, at the end of the day, by the current administration, or the administration that's in power at the time, right? I'm not just saying this current administration. So let's go into what a victory I'm talking about. We need to have that love. And we're seeing a lot of these schools and colleges, and what happened in I think it was Michigan, the campus was, that was too bad that happened. But that happens. And when you disarm, I went to high school, and my buddies and I, we would go out duck hunting in the morning. And we would drive to high school at the end of the morning, and I had our guns in the cars. And there was even a few times I took my gun and put it in my locker. Now, we're talking about my shotgun, right? You have to break that and have to put it in the locker. They were tall lockers back then. But you know what you never heard of? You never heard of a campus shooting. You never heard of a campus shooting. We were all trained. We all handle our weapons the way we should. And we used them for our purposes that we had them for. And we didn't have just shotguns. We had pistols and things of that nature. We just knew the right things because we were taught the right way. And we're lacking in parenting that way. My father taught me, and he taught me, you don't even point a gun. Even a fake gun, he would tell me, you don't point that at anybody's head or body. You point, if you're going to go bang, bang, bang with a cap gun, you go up to the side because you never know what could fly out of that, right? And we have a current actor right now that's, Alec Baldwin, is going to go through a trial on something of that similar nature. There's more to it than that, I know. However, victory. When you allow guns to be carried, you may not agree with me, and that's okay. You can put your comments down below. That's fine. I accept that. But I'm just going to tell you the statistics show that when you allow guns to be carried, you'll have less gun crime. It's a fact. And here you have West Virginia. In a resounding show of support for the Second Amendment rights, the West Virginia House of Delegates passed a campus-carrying legislation law, an overwhelming majority of 84 to 13. There's a video I'll put down below. You can watch this. The campus carry bill, Senate Bill 10, will now await the signature of Governor Jim Justice, who's a staunch supporter of gun rights and expected to sign the gun into law. We have to understand, too, the history of West Virginia and how West Virginia was established, right? Going all the way back to the Civil War and so forth. You have to kind of, and prior to, right? But you have to understand, it's kind of like Texas, if you will. Those people pretty much want their rights and their privacies. And so that's why there's a lot of support. I know Tim Cass has moved to West Virginia as well, and it has his offices there for that reason. And it's an option. It's an option for us too, because we're definitely looking for some place where we can maintain our freedoms and our rights of privacy. We're doing another video today on the rights of privacy with the LDS Church too, and something that was breached. And I wish that I would have seen the LDS Church, not talk bad about them at all, because I have nothing bad to say about them. I just would have liked to see them done something different instead of worry about getting bad publicity. Back to this. Our course is, of course, the you have a gun lobby was there, and they were stating the fact that, look what happened in Michigan State, right? And the Michigan State, they went on to say that that was a tragic shooting, but it was also in a gun-free zone. So if you have a gun-free zone, what you're telling anybody who wants to walk on a campus that has a problem or an issue, that, hey, there's nobody there that can defend themselves. A gun-free zone, like my daughter's school, it says this is a kindness zone. Well, kindness for what? That means you can't say anything that's in contrary to anybody else's opinion. You have to agree with everybody. We got to be careful of that. We're taking away freedom of speech. And I've been going back and forth with the principal of my daughter's school, as we did a video on earlier. We need to stand up for these things. And I'm all about standing up for it. And we do it in the right way. We don't have to go out and get violent, but we make our voices heard. We need to show up and be present. Take that time. It's a little bit of time to make that effort. And that's what we try to do here on this channel, is try to keep people aware of what's going on, so that you know what decisions to make. And hopefully the idea is that you're going to defend those freedoms, not talk about it. I know a lot of people just talk about it. But when I talk to people and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on. Oh, yeah, you know, yes, that was going on. Yeah, you sure? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, maybe, because they don't want to get involved. They know that they should do something, but they don't want to because everybody's caught up in their lives, whatever it might be. But a lot of it has to do with money and in material things versus defending principle. And that's what's caused America to collapse. And that's why we're in the state we're in right now. Sorry. And that causes the pride. And you can go back through history and you can see it repeat that cycle. All right. So because it was a gun-free zone, they couldn't defend themselves. It's unacceptable that our loved ones are faced to make difficult choices between their safety and their education. Okay. They're just kind of acquiescing out to everybody here saying this because they know that it's just completely unacceptable that people don't have the rights to carry. And if they did, you'd have less gun crimes. They deserve a right to defend themselves. Here they go. From a deadly attack without fear of legal repercussions. So if you carry a weapon to defend yourself, you face legal repercussions. In fact, I mentioned earlier that I bought this gun, not a stun gun, but it was a gun that shoots pellets. These pellets, these BBs that were a gas, and so they actually will hold off somebody, an attacker, for a few minutes. It just gives us time to get away. But I don't use a weapon for fear of, if I did, what could happen to my family and so forth, right? Not that we don't promote or have. I carry that with me in my vehicle. I carry that with me wherever I go. And that's just to be able to ward off an attacker and get away. Because where am I? I'm in a state that doesn't allow me to really defend myself. This new legislation recognizes the right to concealed carry permit holders to keep their handguns concealed while on state college and university campuses, bringing West Virginia in line with the laws of 11 other states across the country. Look at this. Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Mississippi, Oregon, which surprised me to see this in Oregon actually, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wisconsin. Now, I don't know to what degree. Maybe it just allows teachers or a professor to carry. I don't know. But this one appears to be allowing the students to carry. By this statement, by allowing law-abiding young adults to carry firearms, this legislation aims to increase the safety and security on campus. It acknowledges the reality in today's world. We cannot rely solely on law enforcement to protect us from threats. I'm reading here, though I do agree with that, and instead empowers an individual to take responsibility for their own safety. Congratulations, West Virginia, House of Delegates, for standing up and defending the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment goes, crypto goes. I'm sorry. But you allow the Second Amendment to collapse, you will allow enough overreach, enough power to exist that crypto and the opportunity to invest in crypto and have this free market and blockchain, this innovation for America, will be gone. And it'll go someplace else. And America will cease to be America. DeFi IoT, let's do our part. I'm doing mine. We'll see you in the next video.